A global theory connecting Dr. Mabuse, the experiments on the Ankoi children, the motel, and St. Anthony's Hospital in from the context. The town in from could be an interdimensional space created or manipulated by mysterious entities, including Dr. Mabuse. He could be a scientist or a central figure conducting experiments to study the boundaries of reality, consciousness, and parallel dimensions. The Ankoi children would be the subjects of his experiments, selected for their sensitivity or special connection to mystical or interdimensional forces, on the human psyche and the nature of parallel dimensions.
Often described as a criminal genius, capable of hypnotizing, manipulating, and controlling people, Dr. Mabuse's power lies in his psyche. Seen as a figure of dehumanization and nihilism, he uses psychology to control and destroy others. A polymorphous criminal, he is often depicted as a master of disguise, changing identities as needed. He presents himself as a scientist, a doctor, a gang leader, or even a politician, always in search of power and influence. One of his main skills is his ability to hypnotize his victims. He uses this technique to exert complete control over his targets' minds, causing them to act against their will or complete specific tasks without them being aware of it. Mabuse does not just manipulate individuals directly, he also creates psychological situations that exploit people's fears and desires. By influencing his victims' perceptions, Mabuse is able to create false memories or alter existing memories. Mabuse's manipulations often result in tragic consequences for his victims. When manipulated, they sometimes become unwitting agents of his power, participating in rituals or criminal acts that perpetuate his influence. This creates a cycle of suffering and despair, where the victim becomes complicit in their own confinement. In later adaptations and modern retellings, Mabuse is often associated with themes of social control, psychological manipulation, and obsession with power, making him timeless and adaptable to different eras.
Dr. Mabuse has created a sort of vortex or field of attraction which attracts people to Ville. The experiments he conducted on the children were able to create an anomaly in space-time, allowing the city to act as a trap that attracts people chosen in advance by the malicious entity plunging them into this parallel universe. The inhabitants of Ville are very real and are chosen by Mabuse for his experiments also through a complex game of manipulation, with the town serving as a testing ground where the rules of reality are deliberately distorted. As a malevolent psychiatrist, Dr. Mabuse uses mind manipulation techniques, hypnosis, or even mind-altering drugs to influence the perceptions of the city's residents. The monsters are the souls of former patients who died during Dr. Mabuse's experiments, transformed into monstrous creatures due to the entity's evil influence. Their form would be distorted by their unresolved anxieties, which perpetuates a never-ending cycle of suffering. The day and night cycles symbolize the alternation between consciousness and unconsciousness. Each night, residents face their deepest fears, and each sacrifice fuels the entity's power, strengthening its hold over the patients. The rare moments of calm during the day would be an illusion intended to maintain hope and prolong the struggle. Jasper could be an assistant to Dr. Mabuse, someone who monitors children and manipulates all patients through treatments or other methods. Boy in white through his experiments on Ankoi children, Dr. Mabuse manages to achieve a form of immortality, and Boy in white represents the projection of this immortality. Boy in white symbolizes the soul or essence of Dr. Mabuse, representing the part of him that managed to transcend death. This could mean that, even though he undergoes physical changes, his spirit or consciousness continues to exist through this child, thus embodying his immortal heritage. Martin is a former resident of the city who did not succumb to mental manipulation. He developed a certain resistance to the influences of the malicious entity, maintaining a certain level of consciousness and lucidity, even in the parallel universe of the city. The messages he shares with other residents could be interpreted as desperate attempts to break the cycle or warn new arrivals of the dangers that await them. Martin allegedly attempted to foil the entity's plans by trying to reveal the city's true nature to others. Unfortunately, due to Dr. Mabuse's influence, his attempts failed. Martin could be seen as an anomaly, a spirit strong enough to defy psychic influences and not completely succumb to fear. The worms under Martin's skin could represent the presence of the entity's evil influence within the residents' bodies and minds. They would feed on his vital energy, contributing to his physical and mental deterioration. Had Martin resisted Dr. Mabuse's manipulations or the effects of a particular ritual, The worms would have remained under his skin, symbolizing a partial connection to the entity. This would explain why he is still lucid but in constant pain, as he is trapped in a state between complete control and resistance. Their transmission may have been a desperate act on Martin's part to ease his own burden, convey a warning, or force Boyd to confront the reality of the situation in a more direct and terrifying way. The music box may have been used as part of the dark rituals conducted by Dr. Mabuse at St. Anthony's Hospital. The hypnotic sound of the box would be intended to plunge the inhabitants into a state of trance, facilitating hypnosis, mental manipulation, or the opening of doors to other dimensions. The repetitive melody could act as a psychological trigger, causing hallucinations, repressed memories, or mental regression in residents. The music emanating from the box could be used to manipulate the thoughts or behaviors of the inhabitants. By acting on their subconscious, it would allow the entity to implant ideas, or to amplify fears. The music box would thus act as a sort of psychic key which opens certain mental doors, leading residents to relive their traumas or to behave in an irrational manner. Break the bond that keeps him under the influence of the entity or Dr. Mabuse. The music box, in this theory, represents an instrument of mental manipulation or ritual object used to exert control over residents. The melody could have been designed to hypnotize, weaken the will, or open doors in the patient's psyches. By destroying it, Boyd actively rejects this power and attempts to free himself from the entity's grip. This could be interpreted as a symbolic act of resistance, showing that he refuses to be controlled by music or rituals. Lighting the torch and destroying the music box are acts loaded with symbolism. They mark an effort to push back mental darkness, resist the evil influence of rituals, and break the cycle of manipulation imposed by the entity. Boyd seeks to assert his will and free himself from the oppressive control that weighs on him and the other residents. The tower can, for its part, be a portal or a passage to other realities or mental dimensions. Upon reaching the tower, residents could access different states of consciousness, finding themselves in alternate spaces or times. This would make it a central node in the city's mental network, where different dimensions overlap and rituals can open doors to other worlds. This would explain the unexplained phenomena or changes in time and space observed in the city. Trees, symbols of life and death trees, as living organisms, can represent the duality of life and death. In this theory, they could symbolize the cycle of life, connecting the Ankoi torchlight in occult rituals. Firelight is often used to repel malevolent forces or to break curses. By lighting the torch, Boyd could attempt to counteract the effects of the entity's mental manipulation and rituals. This could symbolize an attempt at purification or exorcism of the place, seeking to dispel the occult influences that corrupt the environment. The torch then represents a means of defending oneself against dark manifestations linked to rituals. These focal points where these forces were intense enough to allow movement from one place to another. To summarize, in order to achieve immortality, Dr. Mabuse conducts experiments on the Ankoi children locked in St. Anthony Hospital. His goal is to transcend death and retain his youth. To do this, he manipulates reality, time, and life energy, creating anomalies and side effects in the world. The child in white represents a projection of Dr. Mabuse's immortality. It is a manifestation of his experiences and his quest to prolong life. Ville could be a mental creation or altered reality resulting from the experiments on the Ankoi children. It would be a sort of parallel world where the usual rules of reality are modified. The inhabitants, while real, would be trapped in this town due to Mabuse's distortions, and the passage trees would be the only means to escape or navigate through this world. The monsters could be agents or manifestations resulting from Dr. Mabuse's experiments. They represent costumes from different periods, which could indicate that they come from various periods, or that they symbolize the alteration of time caused by manipulation. They could be used to maintain control over the inhabitants or to carry out Mabuse's wishes about new theory concerning from serie.